You're listening to the Lawyers with Purpose Practice Success Podcast, hosted by Lisa Rozier, featuring attorney Dave Zampano, along with frequent guests. Whether you're a seasoned estate planning attorney, an attorney looking to add estate planning and elder law to your existing list of practice areas, or you're just starting out, this podcast will give you a solid plan for success. Listen now as Dave and his guests share their personal journeys to practice success and the insights they learned along the way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lawyers with Purpose Practice Success Podcast. I am Lisa Rozier, and I'm joined with Dave Zampano today, and we're taking a little bit of a pause from our guests, but don't you worry, we have a whole list lined up for you listeners. But today we're going to talk about something that's a really popular conversation within our community, which is marketing. And I know that we've already had one episode where we got a little bit into it. And today we're going to talk about relationship building. And Dave's going to share his experiences from when he started his law firm all the way up to now. And then coming up in our next episode, we'll be talking about the traditional types of advertising that sometimes attorneys get nervous about and hesitate and pull back from. So we're going to put all of your worries at ease in the next episode. But today, let's talk about relationship building. And in our LWP world, we call it RMS. So Dave, jump in. I want to hear your experience. I want to hear what's percolating in your mind right now, brewing.
You know, there's lots of things brewing. Marketing is, to me, a very elusive topic. Everybody thinks they know it a little.
Yes.
And I would say I'm starting my 30th year of practice in January. And the more I know, the more I find I don't know. But there's certain things. So I think for me, the conversation I think I'll talk about today is kind of what I always do, is talk about the things that have worked. And I'll talk about the things that didn't work along the way. Because again, anything that's worked, I always tell our members that all the things that work, I systematize and share. The things that didn't work, I share, don't ever do it, and here's why it didn't work and what I found. And sometimes people can overcome some of those things. So it's a great collaboration. So today's a conversation. It's not a direction. It's not a teaching. I don't intend to be teaching anybody today. I intend to be sharing what I've learned in my 30 years of marketing and why within Lawyers with Purpose, the RMS conversation is such a big conversation. It's probably the number one conversation. Probably when you say on the listserv and when we get together at events and
Absolutely.
And I think the RMS conversation, I look at it this way. I've always, to break it down to its simplest forms, as law firms, we need people to call us so we can do work.
Referral system. We not
right?
Yep.
And I always say there's two ways you're going to get that. You're going to write a check for it, or you're going to shake a hand for it.
Mm-hmm.
So writing the check for it, I think, is what we're going to talk about in the next episode. If I've got a budget to spend on quote unquote marketing, or what you would call it, Lisa, you're the marketing expert, you would call it advertising, right?
Yes.
Radio, TV, blogging, social media. All those are things that we call, I refer to as the term retail marketing. So these are things we're doing direct to consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that we talk a lot about is RMS. RMS stands for Relationship Marketing System. And it's based on the structure of the systems that I've built over the years around what I would call relationship marketing that leads to, it's also, a lot of people call it the referral marketing system. How do you build a system of getting referrals?
Absolutely.
So when you think about referrals, who do we get referrals from?
Right. So our number one source are financial advisors, nursing homes.
Yeah.
Right.
We call them allied professionals.
Our allied professionals. Absolutely.
Yeah. The allied professionals are people we work with that serve the same target market we do, but do different features and functions for them. They provide different services. So we want to work with as many of them as possible because we want to help them solve problems, and we need them to help us solve problems that we find for the clients.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really important to appreciate. I tell a story. Back in the early 90s, I started my practice by knocking on the doors of financial professionals. And I know people won't believe this, but 9 out of 10 threw me out. They wouldn't even see me. And it would perplex me. I didn't understand why. And I was told that you lawyers are nothing more than deal killers.
Ouch.
And what I learned quickly was a lot of these financial professionals would have these relationships with clients and they're ready to sell them a life insurance product or get them to invest in a certain stock or whatever it was. And then the lawyers would come in and kill the deal. And the reason why lawyers would do it is because lawyers, and I met many of these type lawyers, felt their way of protecting the client was to get them to stop spending money with their financial advisor. That'd be like your way to protect the client is not go see your doctor because that's going to cost you money, except we have insurance for that, so nobody cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's something different here. I think the relationship between allied professionals is first has to be one of mutual respect. If you don't believe that they're adding value to you, then you shouldn't be talking to them, and nor should they be talking to you if you're not adding value to them. And when I mean adding value, I mean, in the end, what's our job as a professional? As a lawyer, especially in the estate planning industry or other areas, isn't it our job to help solve problems for people?
Absolutely.
And so if we're arrogant enough to think we got it all figured out, that's a whole different challenge. We could do a whole episode on that one, Lisa.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But as I said, as 30 years goes by, I'm finding certain truths that have been true for me over the years. And one is the greatest practice I ever had in the history of my practice was when I had a robust RMS system, a robust relationship marketing system. And let me tell you what that fundamental was. When I finally got to the end result of what is it? What is the relationship management system? It starts with what we call the synergy meeting. And again, I'm dating myself. In the old days, you used to say, hey, you want to get to lunch and find out how we can help each other kind of thing.
Nowadays, we say, hey, can we Zoom?
Yeah, can we Zoom?
Can we have a FaceTime lunch? Can I buy you lunch and send it to your office and meet?
Yeah, there was a show for kids when I was growing up called the Zuma, 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 Zoom. I think it was a commercial. Was it called Zoom? I think it was called Zoom, actually, the TV show for kids to learn their alphabets and everything else. And who knows now what it would become all these years later. But I would say that the first meeting and the first distinction was how many of us, think about it, Lisa, you're a salesperson, right? You're in sales. You sold marketing services for a TV station. You did it for a radio and a whole media network.
Yeah. And
think about when you went out, all the people you met with. Who did you meet with, right? And what were those initial meetings like when you would meet with somebody? What would your conversations be?
Step one was to get through the gatekeeper, right? So the minute that you got to introduce yourself, and if they like you, then they'll let you in. So you had to show your value, right? And keep it short and simple and put it in the position for them. It's about them. It's not about us. So first you had to get through the gatekeeper, and then you sat down with a professional, and it was, let's learn about you and your needs, and then I'll let you know what I have to offer.
Yeah. So what I love about that is value prompt, how can I help you? And one of the funniest things, and this is where, again, I'm jumping around a little bit, but your conversation triggered something in me. And I'm going to say something that might be controversial, but I think certain people are going to hear it and understand it truly. I think that way of selling or relationship is ineffective. I would say it's not as effective as it could be. And let me tell you why. I think in the old days, you did exactly right, is that you got together to say, how can I help you?
Well, you have to, let's pause. Let's talk about this for a minute. Ready? It was called cold calling. I was pounding the pavement, walking indoors, it wasn't working the phones. So it was a little bit of a different approach. Fast forward now, it would be completely different, right?
Right.
We're going 17 years ago. So,
exactly my point.
Today's technology is completely different. It's so intrusive. I mean, picking up the phone, can we get together? There's so many distractions now, and there's so many options.
I think that I loved your reaction. My challenge to the listeners are, what mindset are they in? I think a lot of them are still in the 20-year-ago mindset. Like some might be in the 10-year ago mindset, but I want to share with you what I believe is the new millennial mindset, which is, the 2020s and beyond. Everything's changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I no longer think, what I find is most people, when they meet somebody, and again, I apologize, this is going to be so rude and crude, and I probably shouldn't say it.
Come on, Dave.
I probably shouldn't say it, but it's the way I hate to say it, but it's the way people will understand the story. I've been married 32 years, so I'm going back a long time ago. But whenever you met somebody from the opposite sex, again, I'm dating myself. Back in the days, you didn't meet yourself and say, "Hey, I'm Dave. You want to go to bed together?"
Correct.
Okay. Now today they do, pretty much, I guess. I don't even know if they know each other's names.
Oh my God, Dave, you're killing me here.
I know, right? We're breaking all the social norms. But I use this analogy because that's kind of like what a lot of marketing people do. It's like, "Hey, I'm Dave. Come to bed with me. Let me show you all the things I can do to make your world wonderful."
Yeah.
And no, that's not. I don't think that works anymore. I think it's really what I find today is what I call the synergy meeting. The synergy meeting, what makes it unique and different is I've actually built a tool called the Synergy Interview. And we have one that we use for financial professionals, and we have one that we use for healthcare professionals, because their worlds are a little different. But the essence of this initial meeting to me is to define, do you have synergy? Meaning the two of you combined, do you have synergy?
Yep.
And for me, synergy comes in three formats. Is there something that I do, and I'm going to use these two words they sound simple, but you'll come to learn them over time differently. Are you going to be able to work with them simply and easily? What happens naturally?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like them?
Yeah.
I'm a pain in the neck. I don't want to work with people I don't like. I don't want to work with people that don't have my core values. Now, don't misunderstand me. It doesn't mean I don't like them. It doesn't mean I don't talk to them. Of course I do. Do I want to be trusting my clients to people that don't share my core values? Probably not. But here's the other thing. I want relationships that I want to share my clients with. And that's why I think a lot of lawyers are broken. They think it's their job to protect clients from financial professionals or others. And I say, no, it's our job to help the client maneuver that world and to get people that you trust. And if we come to trust them, then we can entrust them with our clients. Some of my best relationships, I've referred clients to for 25 years, and they've referred clients to us knowing that as well. But to get that, you have to understand, do we have synergy? So when I look about synergy is it easy? When I meet with this person, is it enjoyable? Do I like them? But what I found is the first couple of years of me doing this, I would have all these meetings and then there'd be no business. Nothing happened.
Right.
How many people listen to this? Oh, duh, that's my life. I go, see, why am I doing it? Waste time.
Right.
No, it doesn't waste time. So I'll share, when you start with a synergy meeting and use a synergy interview, the first thing we do is we look at one of the first questions is I ask is, what is it that you do? How would you describe what you do? Now think about that. And then I'm going to say, this is what I do. I say, "Hi, Lisa, nice meeting you. How would you describe what you do?" And then I shut up and listen.
Yes. And you learn.
And you'll learn so much with the way they describe or what they do. I remember one guy saying, I love this one, "I'm an airline pilot, man. I help people get to and he was a financial advisor. He goes, "My job is I'm an airline pilot. It's my job to understand people's destination and to get them there on time and safely."
Love it.
I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, this is a guy, who really understands financial planning. And then I have other people, I help people get good stocks, okay, I get it. So what is it? How do you describe what you do? What is the favorite part about what you do?
The other thing that I don't mean to jump in, but
I want you to jump in.
We've talked about so much relationship and the importance of synergies. And I think you said something a few minutes ago about, well, what happens after you have the meeting? And that's a huge conversation. It's internal stuff in terms of follow through and meeting expectations, and then continuing to just nurture that relationship.
Well, I'm gonna actually break it down, Lisa. I think you stirred me right on to what I think I need to be talking about, which is what is the quote unquote system? It's a relationship marketing system. It's a referral management system. So what does the system say? Well, in this synergy meeting, we ask a series of questions. What is your common experience of estate plans? What do most of your clients consider a typical estate plan? What do you see? In your world, what do you think it should be? And then shut up and let them tell you. Don't sit there and start puking all over them, telling them what you think it should be. Let them tell you what they think it should be. And that opens up the doors for you to see where you can help support them or educate them in areas they might not know. But the most important thing, couple things, I'll state the standards of the synergy meeting, and then we'll come back and discuss them. There's 4 parts of the synergy meeting. The first part is the open. The second part is discovery about them. The third part is sharing about you. And then the last part is commitments going forward. Notice 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm going to pause for a minute. That fourth thing is where a lot of people fall down.
Well, right. And so this is what's critical. So in part 1, it's all about learning all about them. So you understand, we've designed these meetings. I've been doing them 25 of the 30 years. And I'm telling you, I've done probably near 1,000 of them. And they always last about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yep.
And so I tell people, look, I'd like to schedule an hour and a half. We usually get done an hour and 15, but I want the extra time. Okay, great. So what did I just do? The most important thing I just did is I set an expectation.
I call it the upfront contract.
The upfront contract. Well, that's a big Sandler concept, right? That's an upfront contract is what Sandler teaches, which is good practice. So you set the expectations up front. It's going to be an hour and a half meeting. I think it'll take us an hour and 15. I just want to come and learn everything about your business. I want to learn everything about you and how you operate. And I truly do. And I'll share a little bit about me. And at the end of the meeting, I just want to figure out if we have synergy and if we would make a good, strategic relationship going forward. And so of that hour and 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you routinely about 45 minutes is on step 1, which is learning about them. In learning about them, the most important part in step 1, and this is something critical because I just watched a colleague of mine do one and I critiqued it. In part 1, when you're asking about them, the ratio of the amount that you're talking to them talking should be about 80-20. Meaning they should be talking 80% of the time and you should be talking 20% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to restate that. This is really important. When you are learning about someone else, you can't learn about them if you're talking.
Right.
So
right.
All you need to be doing is clarifying what they're saying and verifying and documenting it. So again, that's why we have the tool called the Synergy Meeting Interview, where you can document the answers to these very important questions. Generally speaking, that first 45 minutes is learning all about them. My favorite question is, what about your family are you most proud? Now, why is that important? Because family is an important part to what we do as estate planning. So I want to know how they value family, because that'll give us an insight of how they treat their clients. So that's a great question. There's a whole series of questions. Again, we go through them. When we get to the second part, and this is the really interesting part, I share about us. Now, of the hour and 15 minutes, this is about 7 to 10 minutes. All right. So we're only going to spend 7 to 10 minutes on talking about me. And basically what I'm doing in that 7 to 10 minutes is showing the different things we do and how we do it. And most importantly, I'm introducing them to our process, our estate planning process, what happens in step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And I share how they would refer a client in, how that would happen and how the process would work and how they would be part of that process.
Yep.
All right. So we covered learn about them, then they learn about us. Then in step 3, I say, okay, what do you take away from all this? Where do you see us working together? How do you think I can help you? Now that you've told me about you and I've told you about me, what do you think the value in us working together is? And then the magic word, shut up.
Yeah.
And listen. They will tell you so much. And then document that. And then the final section, which you alluded to, is okay, great. Now we make our commitments.
Yeah.
And the commitments I make is, listen, the first thing I do in the last section is, look, is there anything else you think I need to do to understand you and your business better? And I will tell you, in the last 100 synergy meetings I've done, I've not had a single advisor say, or a healthcare professional say, yeah, you need to do something else. Other than this, what they'll typically say is, yes, I would love you to come meet my team.
Right.
And I'd love you to maybe have some conversations with them about what you were sharing with me.
Right.
And then I say, great, so we'll do that. And then I say, all right, I have a couple commitments of you. And then I share my expectation, what I want from them. And there's some three clear things that we say, we need A, B, and C from you, and we need that. Again, my goal is to meet with you in the next 30 to 45 days. Does that work? And in the next 30 to 45 days, here's what I'm asking you to do.
Correct.
And they agree to that. And I say, is there anything else you're asking me to do in the next 30 to 45 days? And they say, no, that's great. And then I say, okay, so do you agree that when I get back to the office, I will have my assistant talk to your assistant to calendars to meet again in 30 to 45 days. You will have done A, B, and C. I will have done D, and we'll come back and talk about it. Right. And that ends my synergy meeting, which goes into the process now, which is what happens after a synergy meeting. Well, the next meeting is either a strategy meeting or a relationship review meeting. So there's only 4 meetings in the whole RMS system. And again, we could have a whole call on each one, but the first one is the synergy. Do I want to work with this person? The second one is if we do, and we get back together in 45 days, then the second one is that meeting going to be a relationship review meeting where we kind of reconnect, or are we going to strategize something? And a strategy meeting very simply means we're going to strategize something I'm doing to help them grow their business, something they're strategizing to help me grow my business, or something we're both strategizing to help the community. That's all we do in a strategy meeting. How am I helping you grow your business? How are you helping me grow my business? Or how are we helping the community? The other one is a relationship review. Hey, Bob, it's been 6 months. Here's all the people you and I have worked on together. Here's all the successes. Here's all the challenges. Anything we can do looking forward that can continue to enhance this relationship. And then the final one in the process is called professional presentations, where we come in and do in-house trainings to their personnel. So again, all that's in the system with all those trainings and everything. And again, that's part of the RMS system. And I think that's what's critically important. Now, let me share the most important thing, Lisa. And I would be remiss if this ended. I know we're running out of time, but I would be remiss if this ended without me sharing this. Lawyers think that when you sit down with someone, that's supposed to create magic. I will share with you my experience in sitting down with, like I say, it's probably near 1,000. But at minimum, it's in the several hundreds of people that I've met with. And here's what I've done. I've done the synergy meeting every time. I don't deviate. Why? Because it works. And we have members that know it too. They learn the hard way and they finally say, holy shit, this really works. But what we learn is, you ready? A deck of cards. How many aces in a deck of cards? There's 4 aces, right? How many kings? 4. How many queens? 4. Is a deuce worth what an ace is worth? No. We all know that from a deck of cards. I use the analogy of a deck of cards of how people, when they have relationship building, what their expectations should be. And here's what I have learned. That for every 13 people you meet, 1 will do all the things you asked in the time frame you've asked. Did you hear what I just said? 1 out of 13. 1 out of 13 will actually do the things you agreed to do in the next 45 days. 12 won't. You hear that? 12 won't. Does it mean they're failures and you hate them, you're never going to deal with them again? No. For those other 12, some are kings, some are queens, some are jacks, and some are deuces, right? So there's going to be some that will do it, but they'll do it over 2 months or 3 months. There'll be some that will do it, but it'll take them a year to do it, right? In the end, everybody moves at their own pace. But what I found is pretty much like a deck of cards. There's only 1 out of 13 they're going to do the commitments you made in that meeting. Of those 1 out of 13, are you ready? Only 1 out of those 13. So you got to have 13 to get 1. You got to have 13 13s to get 13 ones, right? So you got to do, I know the numbers, right? But you got to have 13 meetings to get 1. To get 13 people who are at that ace level, okay? If I can get my phone to go on, I'm trying to find my calculator. So I'd have to have 13 times 13 meetings. I have to have 169 meetings to get 13 people that are going to do that within a month. Just because they do that within a month, it doesn't mean they're referring immediately, but that gets us to the next part of the process, which then means the synergy of the strategies. So as we continue to do this, it's a numbers game. So if I meet with 169 people, and again, if I'm meeting 2 meetings a week, if I divide that by 2, in theory, it's going to take me 84 weeks, right? If I just did 2 meetings a week, 2 1.5-hour meetings, it's going to take me 84 weeks or almost 2 years, a year and 8 months, to get 13 solid relationships.
Yeah.
But those 13 solid relationships will start generating you anywhere between 2 to 5 referrals a month. So let's say you only get halfway there and you don't have 13, you only have 6. Well, if 6 are referring you 2 to 5 a month, that's pretty good. Because what I've always found is when they refer to you from those relationships, about 85+% will ultimately hire you for your highest billable product that you offer. So it's an investment of time, energy, and relationship. And it's purely a numbers game. You have to keep hitting people. You have to keep seeing people. And as you get to 13, you're going to find one that's a ace. You're going to find one that's a king. You're going to find one that's a queen. And you're going to have a whole bunch that are 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3s, 2s, and 1s. And that's okay. You leave them there. You toma. You keep them in your mailing system, but you're not spending a lot of effort on them. You focus on the jack, queen, kings, and aces. And again, you just keep trudging and you keep conversing and conversing. And that's the key of the system. You're consistently meeting, consistently over time, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and over a year's time and 2 years' time, you start to build a pipeline of relationships and referrals.
Yeah, I mean, that we definitely have gone over on our time today, so I hope our listeners are intrigued and they're okay with us going over for a little extra podcast, but such great information that we covered today. The relationship marketing system and your insight, Dave, of your 30+ years of doing this. And, you know, I'm a firm believer of school of hard knocks, right? You do it and you learn it. And
everybody wants the button, Lisa. They all want the magic button. They want to write a check to the magic marketing firm who's going to solve all the problems. I will tell you unequivocally, the relationship management, there is nothing that will ever produce what it produces at the cost per production. The cost is low because it takes time, but those relationships are invaluable.
And I'll go back to what Alan Hogum said, one of our first members that joined us. He was 4 chef salads a week. That's his advertising budget.
Yeah.
And it was like, all
powerful.
Right. You know, it was very powerful.
But I find it's consistency. Everybody quits because they don't like being told no. If you're getting into this business, no is 12 out of 13 times. Not now is 2 or 3 out of 13 times. Those are your kings and queens and jacks. It just doesn't mean no. It just means not now. It means I want to do it. Everybody's busy, and you got to be a consistent presence in these relationships and always be there for them, and the rest will happen.
Right. Well, thanks, Dave, for your time today and the insights. And for those that are listening, we have had some members that have joined us that talk about their successes with the relationship management system. And it's just nice to hear your insight as well. So everyone, thank you for joining us for this call. It is the Lawyers with Purpose Practice Success podcast. And coming up in our next episode, we're talking about advertising. Don't get scared.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Practice Success Podcast. Visit www.lawyerswithpurpose.com/podcast to listen to other episodes and to subscribe. We'll see you next time.